What's up guys, my name is Jack, you're watching JBTCG, and today we're going to talk about 6 cards that are absolutely going to the moon right now. And I'm not talking about any of the cards from Surging Sparks, we all know that those ones are going crazy. I'm going to talk about some cards that you may have ignored but are actually making some huge moves in the market. And then based off these 6 cards, I'm also going to present 2 more that I think you guys should keep your eyes on because I think they could jump up 20-30% in the coming months. And to be very clear, this isn't investment advice. I know much more about sealed products than I do the singles market, but I figured I'd cover it since I think it's interesting. Now, the first card we're going to cover is the Groudon from Paradox Rift. This is now the top chase card in this set, and over the past 3 months, it has jumped up over 30%. I can only show 6-month graphs on TCG Player for whatever reason, but it has jumped around 30% since September. Right now, if you want a near mint copy of this card, you're gonna have to pay around $70, whereas 2 months ago, you could pay around $50 to $60. And honestly, I think it's warranted. This card is awesome. The only drawback is we don't have a Kyogre card to kind of complement it on the other side. It would have elevated it just so much more. I can't complain too much. This card's awesome. I think this will reach $100. I don't know if it's gonna reach it in 3 months or in 3 years, but I don't think this card will stay under $100 forever. So overall, do I think this is a speculative pump and dump scheme by somebody? No, I think this is organic demand. It hasn't shot up like 40% in the span of a week or two. It's been gradually increasing over a couple months, and I think it's healthy and I think it will continue to grow. Moving on to our second card, this is going to be the Gastly illustration rare from Temporal Forces. This one reached a low of right around $20 in September and has since shot back up to $31 right around now. This is around a 50% gain in the span of 3 months. And no one has really talked about this card as of recently. It's super awesome. You get Gastly, Haunter, Gengar, and Meowth as well. And it's just a super well done complete card. And Temporal Forces, after release, kind of got put on the back burner with Twilight Masquerade and then hype for upcoming sets. But recently, Scarlet and Violet has had a lot of demand influxed into it, and Temporal Forces has gotten a lot of love. The booster boxes are up, I think, at like $130 per market price, which is crazy to me. I really think Temporal Forces is a great set, and I also think this is similar to the Groudon, where it's a great illustration rare. It's not super common, it's not something you're going to get in every single booster box, and I think the price growth is warranted. Do I think this has a ton of room to grow? Not really. I think the Groudon has much more room to grow, but I could see this being a $40, $45 card in the future, but I could also see this card kind of stagnating and sticking around $30. So do I think you have to buy in now or you're going to miss out? Not really, but I figured I'd make you guys aware of the moves it's making. The third card we're going to cover is also in Temporal Forces, and this is the Iron Crown EX, or the Moon Crown if you want to call it. First off, I want to say this card is beautiful. This is my favorite card from Temporal Forces. The moon, the texture and detail on the moon, as well as the bright pink leaves contrasting the blue and yellow background. Everything about this card is amazing to me. And if this was an Umbreon here, this would be a several $100 card. This one, I could see you saying this growth is unnatural or pumped, because it was $56 at November 11th and has since jumped up to $80 in the span of a week and a half. So what could have happened here? Well, it could have been someone bought out the market, or it could have been demand influxed in and really quickly the bottom floor of this card just kind of fell out. And also, I forgot to mention, but that is a 40% gain in the span of 2 weeks. So do I think this has more room to grow? Absolutely. This card is amazing. I think this card is just going to continue to get more and more love as time goes on and as sealed product gets more expensive. I also think there's a chance that Temporal Forces doesn't really get a meaningful reprint. The Pokemon Company has so many other sets to worry about that Temporal Forces could very well sit on the back burner for a while. So, do I think you have to buy in right now? Absolutely not. But this is going to be another card that's really interesting to watch in the future. And I'm curious to see if it actually comes back down a little bit after this massive pump upwards. Moving on to number 4, another card I'm a huge fan of. This is the Ninetales illustration rare from Obsidian Flames. And this card actually used to be super cheap. It was down at $10 back in June. Since then, it has actually jumped up to $18 to $19, which is around an 80% gain. Now, I know some of you may be looking at me like, well, that's $8. It's not a really big deal. But 80% is a massive, massive amount of growth. It is also uncertain whether Obsidian Flames will get another reprint after the small restock/reprint that happened in this past month. If it doesn't get another reprint, we could see this card grow even further. It's a part of the original 151. If you want to add this to your 151 master set, it fits right in. I think if you're looking for a beautiful card that's not going to absolutely break your bank, this is the card to buy. Moving on to a big chase card that I actually picked up a couple months ago as an investment that ended up doing not so well. This is the Lugia V alt art. So this one was one of the alt arts that got pumped up and then crashed back down in the months that followed. I think the highs were right around $227. Well, right now we're at $225. We are reaching all-time highs right now. And in September, you could get this card for right around $163. And with Silver Tempest finally going out of stock on the Pokemon Center, I don't think we'll see this card dip back below $200. I think this was one of the most underrated alt arts that we got. It's incredibly detailed, the fisherman or man on the boat, whatever you want to call him, and then the massive Lugia and the storm surrounding them. It's a super detailed, amazing card to have in person, and I see this being a $300 card in the future. It could very well stay in the 200s. I'm not saying it's guaranteed to be $300, but I can imagine a universe where it is. And the reasoning I have for that is that the depth of the market on TCG Player isn't that strong. We have a couple cards around 220, there's a couple cards around 230, and then it jumps up to $250. And this is just on the first page of listings, sorted from cheapest to most expensive. So this card, say you wanted to manipulate the market. If you bought out 10 or 15 of these cards, market price would be up at like 260. Now sure, it would probably crash back down because more people would list it for 230, 240. But what I'm saying is the overall market depth for this card isn't huge. And for it to make the jump from 225 to 300 isn't actually that large. But moving on to our last card, this is going to be the Mega Rayquaza EX from Ancient Origins. And this is the shiny full art version, not the regular one from Roaring Skies. This one has actually moved up 23% in the past couple of months, and it's been just a straight upward trend. No really drop-offs, no nothing. It was at $171 in June and has since jumped up to $250 in December. This is another one of those iconic chase cards. This is arguably the best card from the X and Y era, and certainly my favorite card from the X and Y era. I remember how cool this was when it came out, and I wish I had it in my collection. I might actually look to pick one up to kind of beef up my Rayquaza collection, but yeah, this card has really been moving, and I'm sure most people haven't been paying attention to it because their eyes have been glued to Surging Sparks and Sword and Shield alt arts. So I wanted to make you guys aware that X and Y products are moving, and so are the X and Y singles. Now, what cards haven't moved that much that I think will in the future? Well, two come to mind. The first one is the Espeon Vmax alternate art from Fusion Strike. This one is really nice. It's a sleepy Espeon using a house as a pillow. And Espeon is one of the more favored evolutions. It's not like Flareon where it gets a lot of hate. Personally, I love Flareon. Shout out to Flareon. But hey, I can't control the general public's interest. So this one has since come down from being a $300 card in the alt art boom, and right now it's valued right around $225. This, similar to the Lugia, I think could jump up past that $300 price tag in the future. Similar to the Lugia V alt art, the depth of the market isn't that large, and I think that's kind of common with more older cards, or as cards age, the depth of the market gets smaller, and I could see this being a $300 card. Am I guaranteeing that it will be there? No, absolutely not. But when you look at things like the Espeon Vmax, which is up at $290 right now, and the Glaceon Vmax, which is up at $250, I think the Espeon is better than the Glaceon, but that's just my opinion. And I think all of these Evolution Vmax alt arts will probably be over $300 at some point, purely because they're evolutions and people will get into Prismatic Evolution and then they'll want to go back and get the old prestigious alt arts from the Sword and Shield era. So do I think this is going to be an investment that makes people millionaires? No, absolutely not. But I think this will be an interesting card to watch over the coming months. Now the last card I want to cover is the Blaziken Vmax alternate art from Chilling Reign. This one is really iconic, a really great alternate art, and it's a great use of the Vmax gimmick in a card. And it has since dropped from being over $400 to being valued right around $287. Chilling Reign, Infusion Strike, and Lost Origin have all started ticking up, and their booster boxes are going to get closer and closer to 300 as time goes on, and I think that this card will move as well. We've already seen the Giratina V as well as the Gengar Vmax make their moves, and I think that this card will follow suit. I can't be certain of the price point that this card will end up at, but it will definitely be entertaining to watch over the coming months. Now, if this video was entertaining to watch and you're new here, consider subscribing. I put out Pokemon investing and market content every 2 to 3 days. And if there are any Pokemon single cards that you've noticed have been making big moves in the market that I didn't cover in this video, comment them down below, that way I can potentially make a sequel. But that's all I got for today, so as always, thank you guys so much for watching and stay safe out there.